Okay. I didn't know that part three was gonna be this in demand. I thought the first two parts you just kind of would have got the gist of it. So there was a little bit of delay, but I just want to touch on two things so you know. One, someone asked me a lot of questions about a certain situation. Now, if you're around the life and you don't even got to be with a May guy, right? If you're with a May guy's son, or you're with somebody that's very powerful within Cosa Nostra, okay? And something happens, and say you did fight, but the worst of it happened to the kid that you were with, whose father, whose uncle, whose cousin is a wise guy, but you're not connected. Most likely, you're gonna get a beating, you're gonna get sent for, something's gonna happen to you. Even if you're a neighborhood kid, if you're not a neighborhood, something might worse happen to you. Okay, now there was a situation where there was a certain family, and it was divided. The cousins were divided, and there was a certain couple kids from Ozone Park that took sides on a night that one side of the family got jumped, and the cousin looked at the kids from Ozone Park like, "You're friends with me." And the kids from Ozone Park looked over and said, "Yeah, but that's so-and-so's nephew, so-and-so's son, so-and-so's whatever. We need to be in there helping them. That's what we do. We're not like that. We got to make sure that, we stand by our own, even if they're from a different part of the neighborhood, their fathers, their uncles, whatever, are guys that we're around." And a certain part of the family is like, "Well, pick your loyalty." And certain kids that night picked to not help these kids in a fight in a club. The next day, who gets sent for? Not the other half of the family, not the kids who are related to the wise guys or the gangsters. It was the kids from Ozone Park. Now, I think it was two or three of them, I'm not sure, that got called upon. There was other kids there, but they didn't get sent for. They weren't mentioned. But kids that stood out, kids that were, seen, definitely seen not doing nothing, but not by choice, but for a good reason. They wanted to show their loyalty with one side of the family. And what happened was somebody's son got stabbed, somebody got hurt, and these guys were very upset with the kids from Ozone Park. They got cracked around, they got beatings. Lucky nobody got stabbed, nobody got shot, nobody got clipped, because this was somebody very important son. And that's the way it works. I mean, I got a lot of messages on why with guys. Listen to me. When you're hanging around wise guys' kids, a wise guy, and you're not straightened out, and you're not connected by family, you're held responsible regardless that it wasn't you who did it, it wasn't you who was against them, you were with them. It's like you have to protect the prince, you have to protect the crown jewel. These are rules that go back even before my time, because I grew up with guys in the generation above me, and they had to obey by these rules. And the guys that I'm talking about are in their 50s now, who this happened to. And I was a 16-year-old kid when this happened, and these guys were a lot older than me, and they used to take me out to the clubs. And this one particular night, I was hanging out with a girl. I didn't make it there, and I'm glad, because I don't know what I would have done. Because at this point, it doesn't make a difference if you're Howard Beach, if you're Ozone Park. That's so-and-so's son, and there's another neighborhood jumping them or doing something. You got to get in there. Bottom fucking line. And excuse my language. I hope we can take that off. But yeah, so with that, it's like there's no ends if or buts. So when I was going out, and not only I used to go out with my mentor, who is now in his 70s, and if anything would have happened to him, I mean, God only knows what they could have did to me. I always had to make sure I was by his side. I went everywhere he went. Like, it's just, and now I'm going out with his son before he's a made guy, and God forbid anything happens to him. So I was constantly fighting, and not saying winning, but we were constantly in the. I mean, thank God that his father was an understanding captain, an understanding wise guy, that this is what happens and this is what goes on. A few times guys didn't fight and guys ran. Oh my God, I can't tell you how those guys got baseball batted and beat up. And now, as you get older and you're hanging around these guys as wise guys, it ain't like me going out with his father or his uncle or this wise guy or that wise guy, where, they're older, they got a little bit more power because they're a little bit more respected in the street. You're newly made. A lot of guys don't know that. You can run into guys from different areas that are just the same age as you, and you could get into a beef. But if I'm with a guy that's a lot older than me, it's unlikely that's going to happen. And most likely we're in a strip club or a place that was, under them or whatever. So it's very tricky. Like, there's a lot of rules that still exist and still go on for a long time, and a lot of old rules that were broken. But there's one thing that I can guarantee you. The guy who's not made, and I'm going to go on to tell a story, that a knock around guy who was just around his whole life, friends with everybody, one of the best guys I ever met. Not a wise guy, but grew up with all wise guys. He was my friend who was a captain's godfather, and I'm going to tell a story about him one day. And this week I'll do it, and you'll see try maybe understand it a little bit more. Even when you're around a wise guy and you got beef with somebody, right? And now I'm with three guys, they're grown men now, that we were kids together, but they're wise guys and I'm not. And they're with somebody that I have to, step to, that I have a beef with, and I have to take care of it right then and there. And I had to ask my friend, even though I'm not with him and, he's a wise guy, but not my wise guy, but just because he was a wise guy, win or lose, it wasn't like I was going to smack somebody and abuse him. Like, I was going to have a fight with somebody, and I had to ask his permission because I was going to initiate the fight because the guy was standing right next to him. And I had to say to him, I walked over to him and I said, just so you know, I'm about to get into it with this guy, so just giving you a heads up. And he was like, do what you got to do. And you never know. I mean, that happened once with his father, and he was like, that ain't going on. And kind of puts you in a bad spot, because if you see somebody in the streets that you got beef with, and you just happen to see them when you're with a guy who's a wise guy, who's a captain, and he's not having it. He's like, no. It's not embarrassing, but you never know when you're going to have that chance again. You don't know if it's going to get squashed now, because now he knows about it. But rules like this, there's a lot of little rules. People want to say, like, everybody thinks they know what they're talking about when it comes to this life. Believe me, they don't. Believe me. There's so many little rules from being around a wise guy or a May guy or somebody connected, or even a wise guy's kid, nephew, and you're not connected, because I was never connected by blood to the crews that I hung out with. Like, nobody knew about my mother's family in Little Italy and her uncles and, the guys when I was a kid and sitting on their laps. That was a totally different life for me. By the time this life came, I was just Hootie from the streets, Ozone Park, 101st Avenue. That's it. So I always had to be careful, because, these are the things that I was told growing up and learning. When I left Rikers Island and my good friend's father was serving a 1 to 3, when we walked out of the visiting room floor, he said, you got to watch the Golden Goose, in his son. And that right there doesn't even have to be said. That it was said is even worse, because God forbid anything happens to him, we're all going to be held responsible. That ain't straightened out. And when he becomes acting captain, even the May guys will be held responsible. Because, like I said, I always tell you, we're like one of the only crews that had 3 to 4 May guys in it at one time. It should have been broken up. They should never, it should never be like that. It should be more low key. But that's just the way it was. We came up together as kids, teenagers, and, that's what it was. And this is a big deal, guys. I know you always think everybody knows what they're talking about, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. You're being led wrong by people, okay? Cosa Nostra has rules that maybe they got restructured. Who knows when? I just know for a fact that being around a wise guy and a wise guy gets hurt and you're around and you're not connected and you can't go anywhere for help, you're going to get a beating. Hopefully you walk out about getting baseball batted or stabbed or a finger gone. Okay? So those are the rules. And I've been getting a lot of, DMs and questions. Why? That's just the rule. That's just always been a rule since I was a kid. It was one of the first things, like I was going out with wise guys when I was young. And the old guy was like, and my friends that I knew as when I was much younger, before I met these guys, would always warn me. And they were older. They were a lot older. They're in their 50s now. They always had me by about 10 years. They always used to say, Hootie, what are you doing hanging around these guys? It's nothing but trouble either way. You can get yourself jammed up with them, without them, helping them, not helping them. They always had good points. And I wanted to be around that, and that was before any of them were made. It was like, it was a known thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many people would tell me because his father was such a powerful captain. Like, you're going out with this kid. If something happens to him, it doesn't make a difference who did it to him, who was there with him. Hootie. Send for Hootie. And God only knows what could have happened to me. I don't care if people say the life was dead, the life wasn't as strong as it was. Yeah, it was beaten, and it was beaten strong until the day I walked away from it. Right? So that, and that goes for any crew. I mean, I've heard guys get beatings, get sent for, lose fingers, have acid poured on them for the craziest shit because of wise guys' kids, other wise guys, things that happened. And I know guys that were connected that weren't straightened out. And there was neighborhood kids who didn't do nothing when a certain kid got jumped. And they called all the kids that they could remember being there into a park and gave them all a beating. And this was just a neighborhood kid who was connected to a guy that was connected. And that's how deep it went at one point. Especially in my neighborhood. Because now that I hear all these other stories in other neighborhoods, there was nothing like Ozone Park and Howard Beach because shit was just way different. And the rules, like I told you, I guess they're implicated the way they want to implicate them. But rules like that, I know, go back to when I was a kid being told. And I'm going to touch on something else, okay? Somebody talked contradiction. From my timeline on my videos, you can go back from day one. There's no beef with me starting. Maybe me talking about it afterwards, and there's no contradictions. I don't contradict myself, okay? If I say that family jumping, now someone wants to post a video of Gene Barillo contradicting what I said. This is something that they don't know. Gene Barillo was never on record with the Gambino family when he joined the Bananas. He didn't family jump. He was Gambino by blood because his uncle was Fat Andy, who could have been the boss of the Gambino, who was a high-powered captain, and Albert Anastasia's bodyguard, number one, and that was his uncle. So, yes, he comes from the Gambino bloodline, but he was never on record with the Gambino family. So he did not jump. He was with the Bonanno family. He was on record with the Bonanno family. He was on record to be made. He was on pace to be made. He actually got looked over because a certain person was on parole and didn't want him on his paperwork. So they held him back from being made. And then guys from my crew who only wanted earners in their crew, with the exception of me, whatever it was that I did on the outside, what kept it to me, they only kept guys around them that earned. They didn't keep, if they had to call in favors and they needed hitters, they had them at their disposal, but they didn't want them within the crew. So if there was any crew that he would be with, he would want to be with my crew because that was the crew that everybody wanted to be in. And, if you were with the Gambinos. So he was never on record with the Gambinos, so there's no contradiction. He didn't family flip. He was with the Bananos. He was best friends with a captain's nephew. And then he wound up hanging around the boss, the consigliere, all of the above from that as a kid. So just because his family was Gambino doesn't mean he family jumped because he was never on record. And then when, guys in my crew wanted him, he showed his loyalty to the Bananas and said, this was the crew I always wanted to be in, but I'm with him now, and that's where my loyalty lies. And he told the captain in the Gambino family that. While he was out on bail, before we got locked up, while he was running wild, twice it happened. Not 3 times, twice. And he was never on record with the Gambinos. When I say people family jump, it's when people on record with one family, and they know that when they come home, something's going to happen, and they turn around and find their way into another family. But in this instance, it was that family that they probably thought they were on record with didn't care. That's why they never stopped. They didn't care if another family straightened them out. Didn't care if they were with another family. They just wanted them gone. So when I'm talking about that, you have to be on record with the family, and then you go to another family. That's family jumping. So when you hear these people talking about contradictions, then I got to come on and I get 1,000 DMs, and I have to explain this. Well, if you're watching my podcast and then you're believing what all of these guys are saying, have them school you in the right direction, right? But they can't. You want to know why? Because most of them weren't even in the life long enough to do that. They could say they were, just because they were around, it doesn't mean they were in it, okay? So, this is part 3, right? Now, we leave RAOs. Now, what's going through my mind? Tomorrow, what's going to happen? Tonight, Vinny, I'm getting a lot of... Yeah, Vinny Gorgeous was a stand-up guy, acting boss of the Banana family, had nothing but hitters around him. Nobody took that away. And I'm not saying that, Al and my crew was the toughest guy in the world. I don't say that. He wasn't. But that night, he knew he was right, but he was out of line. But he took advantage of that and showed off, right? So he did. He stood up. So now we're around the corner at the bar after leaving RAOs. The guys, now everybody's hearing about what he did. Maybe there was 5 of us around when it happened, 6 maybe. By now, it's 20 guys in Harlem from the Bronx, all up in that area. Salute Al, hey, buying them drinks all night, way to go, that Don Cheat. Now, like I said, my crew is pretty good with giving guys nicknames, making fun of guys, doing things like that. Whenever a guy used to act the part, even if he was the part, we used to call him Don Chichi. So that night, everybody was like, yeah, good for you, yeah, fuck these guys. And me, I'm waiting for a carload of shooters to pull up. I'm keeping look, I'm paying attention, I'm going, we got to get the fuck out of Harlem. Like what you just did is going to be a sit-down after sit-down, an embarrassment of 3 families. I mean, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I was the only guy there besides this guy's cousin who I didn't know except from that night, and he was connected, and I know it's just shit's going to hit the fan. But if we get out of Harlem alive, because, yes, Vinny Gorgeous was a Mad Hatter. His crew was, or he kept nothing but shooters around him, and it could have been anything to start a war. He wouldn't have cared about starting a war with the Gambinos. He just got acting boss. He's been waiting for this. This guy thinks that he's the Don, like that. There's nobody bigger or better than him, right? So of course he does. What does he care? Let me start a war with the game. What are they gonna do? I got the guns. I got the power now, right? And that's what I'm thinking. Because believe me, if he was thinking that, and I'm pretty sure the older gentlemen that were with him from the Lucchese and the Genovese family probably told him, nah, Vinny, don't worry about it. We'll make some calls. No, or they were making calls already back to Queens. Because I got to tell you, my first beat came at 7 a.m. I think we just walked in an hour before that. So buying them drinks all night, yeah, way to go. And now these guys, I'm going to be honest with you, they were from the Bronx. At that point, when Vinny Gorgeous was running around, the Bananas ran the Bronx. I don't care what family, what crew, how many guys had. Everybody was scared of his crew. Many guys or not, knew he had a bunch of hitters. They respected him, even though they weren't in his family. And probably happy that guy from Ozone Park, Howard Beach, came down here and did that. But they would never. And they know that there's going to be consequences. But they weren't there. And are they going to ask who was there? You don't know. So, salute Al, Jindan Al, way to go. Fuck Don Cheech. Yeah, Don Cheech over there. Gorgeous this, gorgeous, just like that. And I'm like, oh, this is fucking bad. This is, my whole night was just like, this is fucking bad. Whatever 3 drinks that I must have had with them as celebratory was gone out of my system, and I was just like up and at it. And I'm looking out we're sitting right by the bar, right by the window, right at the end of the bar, and I'm looking out. I'm just waiting for a carload just driving around Harlem looking for us. You know, and we were supposed to go back up to the Bronx, so that's what that was supposed to be, right? Well, nothing happens that night. We party till dawn. We get home probably 5:30, 6 o'clock. Who knows? It was lost. I know I got out of the shower. I put my head down. Beep, 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 beep. What the fuck? Now, we got cell phones. The beepers are like an emergency thing. I don't even know why it's going off. And then what do I got? I got his father's driver at my door. He's like, listen, you got to go by the big guy's house. His father was about 6'6", 6'7", so I was like, okay. Get dressed, brush my teeth, get in my car, drive to the house. It's a phone call. Now, there's 2 other guys there. 2 guys from that night that was with us. Friends, but connected. They got like serious faces on when I'm walking in the house. Again, now only a few people would go by his house. It was a very tight-knit crew we had, and I still respect that to this day. Like that I was, one of somebody that was considered a friend at one time, a friend as in a regular friend, not a friend as in a wise guy. And here it goes, screaming and yelling. How the fuck did you let him go down there? They got emissary from the Genovese family, an emissary from the Lucchese family, and Vinny Gorgeous was fucking fuming. The Bonanno family sent a message, and we're right in the neighborhood with the Bonannos, so it was very easy. Majority of the neighborhood was Gambinos and Bonannos, so every Bonanno knew. And this is 7 a.m. This all just happened in Harlem 6 hours before. Whatever, maybe even 5 hours. I couldn't even tell you the time frame after that. And oh my God, how do you out of all people, you drove, right? You didn't have nothing to drink, right? Yeah. What the fuck did you let him do that for? Is he out of his fucking mind? Are you fucking kidding me? You should have more freaking. Excuse me, I'm cursing up a storm here, and it was F this, F that, and I'm getting yelled at. Now you gotta remember, he's about to become an acting captain because his father's going in for surgeries at the server 1 to 3, right? And his father is probably at this point the most powerful captain in the Gambino family, and feared by everybody. But I had a different relationship with him. I knew what he was doing. I'm the guy that's got to get yelled at, screamed at. I should have knew better. I was smarter. The other kids are idiots. They're dense. They don't think. You should know better. How many times have we been out? The whole 9 yards. Because I've been out with him a zillion times alone, just me and him. And it just went on and on and on and on. So I knew what it was now. That's all it was. It was going to be a tongue lashing over the phone. He hangs up. I go outside. They're all laughing on the stoop. Laughing. Now, in that conversation, the Genovese family said he was out of line. I don't know if it was a drinking. Maybe he shouldn't act. Maybe he shouldn't drink too much. That went down. The Lucchese family, probably out of respect for you, we calm Vinny down. I heard it all. That within that conversation, those are the things that was said, but they said at the end of the conversation, this kid's got balls like King Kong, and we didn't know his reputation to be like this. He was wrong for the way he approached it, but he was right about what he was saying. Right? So this was one of the situations where we didn't ask permission. You got to ask for forgiveness. I don't get into my sayings and why things are said. You can use them in the world today and in everyday life. But there used to be a thing where there was certain guys that asked for permission, and there was always certain guys that asked for forgiveness. I was always a guy that had to ask for forgiveness because I was never asking permission because I know I'd get turned down for everything I wanted to do. So I was always asking for forgiveness. Not literally, but that was the saying. I would do, and then what do you want me to do? My bad. You know, I was that guy. But then there was other guys that asked permission. Maybe they didn't want to do certain things that they needed to do. I felt like the guys that asked permission were ass kissers. The guys that, asked for forgiveness were the guys that wanted to get shit done. I was one of them. So on this night, I said, listen, when it happened so fast. This is my explanation. He don't want to hear it. I says, but forgive me. Maybe I should have grabbed him sooner. Didn't see him get by me. I should have been paying attention to him more than what was going on around us. Because, as you know, what we were there for. And, well, that's why you were a driver. That's why you weren't supposed to drink. That's why you were supposed to watch him. That reason alone. They had, business there. They get taken care of and this and that. So, I'm giving you some powerful information here. Now, understand it. It's very easy to comprehend. These are the rules. This is what does happen. And if you are close enough to somebody, that is connected, they do put trust in you to do things like this, to be around a situation when friends are being introduced to friends. 04 was a big year for guys being made in the Gambinos and the Bananos, as Vinny just got acting boss and things like that. So now it's all over, right? Now we're cousins with the Colombos at this point. Bananos were kind of warring away in our own neighborhoods. We got a local beef with with the second guy who was the biggest earner in the neighborhood at the time, Ron. He's beefing with guys in my crew. And so at this point, we're hanging out with a lot of Colombo guys. And where I come to learn about guys like Larry Mazur and other guys like that, where I can say I heard it from official guys, captains, made guys, on his status in the family. And I was able to go on and interview with Larry and talk to Larry because I heard it from the horse's mouth, actually. So that was around during the wars and everything else, which I've heard from my friend who was a captain, who's his father. So at this point, we're hanging out with Colombos, and that's what I think somebody wrote about the fight with Patty Boy in the zoo, at Patty Boy's club, the Blue Zoo. Absolutely. I'm going to tell that story too as well. We got time for all the stories, guys. So now it's going everywhere. I mean, forget it. I didn't even get, now it's like, all right, let's go to the diner. I'm like, we just ate. I forgot whatever we ate. We ate dinner. We ate maybe White Castle. I'm not sure. Whatever. I'm like, go to the diner. Yeah, all right. We're never up this early. We go to the diner. They're breaking balls. They're going to come for you, Hootie. These guys are looking for you. The shooters, they're all looking for you. You're the only guy that wasn't made there. They knew. They heard the name, breaking balls, going back. This is what we did amongst ourselves. We would never let nobody else see how we spoke and how we broke each other's balls, right? That's what we did. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But now that I know that even Vinny sent an embassy about Al being out of line, he gained a lot of respect that night within the Bronx fraction of the Gambino family. With the Bananos, they were upset, but he gained a little respect with them. And he gained a lot of respect with the Genovese and with the Lucchese, which he went personally. And I know bought them an expensive bottle or whatever he did on his own and said, listen, didn't know you guys were going to be there. Al did his whole thing. Very good, like Frank Costello, politica. I told everybody this all the time. He had potential to be the boss of this family, which he has no shot of now because he's shelved for life. Okay? And this is what happens. But what happens is no sleep. We're out all day. Now we're at the park. Then we're at the soup place. It turns into a 2-day event with no sleep. And this was no drug. This is straight. These guys were on alcohol. I was straight. I don't even think they were getting high yet. Like, there was none of that going on, I don't think, at this point. This was a very tricky time period because guys were going away. Guys were coming home. Guys had parole in the state. This was all state cases as of right now. And I'm just about to get picked up on another state case while I'm on parole on probation at this point. Not parole, for a city case that I did, the 6-5. So, which I'm about to get picked up on in 05, that summer of 05. So, this right now, we're all fighting state cases. Who's on one big bookmaking case that happened in 03, the 1-3s, the 10 months, the 6-5. So, it was a little hectic. But Princess of City got a reputation that night to come into Harlem with big balls and act that way with one of the most powerful, reckless Mad Hatters at the time acting bosses of a crime family. I get a phone call that evening from his father's driver. Put your best suit on and we're going uptown. Because it used to be his saying when he was going out, no matter where we were going, put your best suit on, we're going downtown. That always was that was the message, and that meant get dressed because we didn't. There was no fitted hats and Jordans and Yeezys and baggy jeans or tight jeans or t-shirts. It was suited up, sweatsuits during the day, suited up. Lucky if you get away with a mock night. Going out at the night, it was shirt and tie most of the time. Get lucky with a sports coat and a nice shirt if it's a nice suit. Whatever. Clean shaved, never chin strap, goatee, none of that shit. Like people walk around today with munchkins on their face. None of that. And he wanted to show face. So we were going uptown that night. So where did we make it to? Jimmy Bronx Cafe. We start out at the Jimmy Bronx Cafe. Suited up, ready to go, $1 million look. 10 of us, strong. Ozone Park strong. Maybe 2 Howard Beach guys. We were Ozone Park strong that night. Now we're going to show face. Now, I get picked up, but this night there's a car service for all of us. Didn't matter. We were going out in the town. We were going to paint the town beautiful, and we were going to show face. Now he's showing off, Ronnie. Mad in the morning, showing off by dinner time. Big balls. Now we're going to go, and I'm going to flaunt my crew around. My guys, my new guys. Whatever he was calling us, you know? We've been around him forever, but that's what he was doing. We start out at Jimmy Bronx Cafe, and it's already known. We're in the Bronx. We're close to Harlem. These fucking guys come in night before, cause all types of trouble. The neighborhood's in an uproar. The Bronx was in an uproar about it. And to put it in their faces even more, there was a certain business that the Bananas and the Gambinos shared in. And that was a strip club business. And one of those strip clubs, which was a minor part that the Gambinos played in it, was Sue's Rendezvous. And Sue's Rendezvous was one of the hottest strip clubs in the city at the time. Right? Best music, hip-hop at the time was on Smash. Best looking girls, whatever. I wasn't particularly in big favor of strip clubs. I didn't like them. It wasn't my thing. But this night, we went. And what happens? We get into money earning. And the boogie down, money earning, Mount Vernon. We get into Sue's, and we take it over. The guys from the Bronx came, a few guys from Harlem, a few Banana guys snuck in, and it was one big party. And his father loved it. The glasses were in the air, the big scotches. It wasn't champagne was not being broken out, and that was showing face. That was showing the flag. We're back again the second night. The word went out. The lashings went out. But we're here to tell you that it was the right thing and we're for real. So, puff your chest up, acting boss, but we're here with the most powerful Gambino captain in the family. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to post up in your neck of the woods. And we posted up. I couldn't keep my eyes open. And nobody can go home. See, there's another rule you have to learn. Nobody leaves until the top guy is ready to go. It could be 2 days. It could be 3 days. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could go back and listen to stories about these old timers and they'll tell you, man, Fat Andy was infamous for it. He would keep bars open, clear them out. Everybody would leave once he came into a bar, and then keep the guy there for 3 days. And that was one of his mentors, which also, because Nicky Carrazzo was his mentor, and so was Fat Andy. He looked up to him, and they did the same thing. And we took over Sue's till the lights came on. Even the guy from the car service was exhausted. And the Gambino kids, the princes of the city from Ozone Park, showed the flag, and Vinny Gorgeous got acting boss in 2004 of the Banana family, that we're here and we're making noise and we don't care what titles anybody's got. And that's what that was. So if you like stories about True Cosa Nostra, you'll take this one and understand it. That's what that was. That was a power move. Regardless that it was started out wrong, lashings went out, tongue lashings went out for it. All forgiven by dinner time. Jimmy Bronx Cafe was smashing Johnny Walker Blue all over the place. And Stolio, because that was the big guy's drink. And close it out in the middle of the Bronx at Sue's and shut it down in their neighborhood the next night. And for you who truly understand Cosa Nostra will understand what that truly meant. The guy could be whatever he wants. You could say, yeah, there is stories that he did this, that he left me in a fight, that, yeah, there is. That night, he was a May guy, 2 years maybe, on his way to acting captain, and he was putting his foot down, planting his flag. Not in his own neighborhood either. So, that's how it ended. And until Vinny Gorgeous got pinched, never another word. Never another word. Not to us, not to anybody in our crew. We never heard anything again. And they felt like that was a big win for them. And it was. If you understand Cosa Nostra and you like this type of podcasting, see the lesson in that. Teachable moments. Regardless, you have that thing, sometimes you got to step up to the plate and do certain things. And that's what got done that night. And the reputation in the Bronx and Harlem stood for a long time. That's part 3. We'll see you soon on a new episode. Stay up.